G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by old man hosting himself, Algared. How you doing, buddy?
I'm fairly well. Tired, but well.
I'm going to around the bus straight off the bat. What are we talking about today?
Oh, we're talking about the Apollo. Don't ask me what we're talking about today, because
You
won't tell me.
I haven't told him. But being the old wise Algared that he is, he saw through my ruse. He actually figured it out. Yes, we are going to be talking about the Apollo if it was the Phoenix. That is what I wanted to talk about today. We've talked about the Phoenix at length for you before. There are a host and myriad of issues. Now, my only kind of issue, I'll say the negative straight off the top of the bat, is I don't think this will work that well with the Merlin or Archimedes because of that, but we'll go some other stuff. And I would also like to state from the bat that this is complete speculation. We have no grounding basis for CIG doing this in any way, shape, or whatsoever. No. It is more fantasy than reality. I just thought it would be really good because I know Algared is a big fan of the Phoenix, and I knew that we would have a lot to talk about. Right.
Well, I think one of the things that really make this plausible is the fact that the Apollo is growing in size. And the fact that when you look at the size, it is almost the same size, if not a little bit longer than the current.
That is not officially confirmed, but yeah, from the way it looks, it's gone to about 66 meters, but the puts are bigger than the Connie. Yep, absolutely.
So when you look at that,
I did think of this myself, but I've also got this image here that someone did of, they did some skins, and this one also thought, when I saw it, that kind of went, oh yeah, that kind of backs up what I was thinking. So I thought I'd share that one as well, that that gentleman had done there on Reddit. But for me, I think the real sweet spot at this that would allow them to have their cake and eat it too, and this is what I wanted to bring to you, this is what triggered the idea for me, was the modular rooms.
Yeah.
So the problem with the Essential Phoenix is it has that modular area for piano or the
hot tub.
The hot tub, and you've got all the different bedrooms and stuff like that. My thought process went along the lines of, well, if you could make it modular, like the Apollo, you could put in more beds, less beds, a pool, you know, the pool or the hot tub, you could kind of mix and match. And instead of it being kind of, you know, beds on one side, you could have beds on one side and then basically a different recreation area on the other side, and probably do it that way. It also has that big skylight that kind of makes it a bit luxurious, and you could probably extend that somewhat to add a bit more luxury. So it would need some modifications. But I think it would make a lot better Phoenix from my point of view, but I'm not you. I didn't buy it, and I know you've put a lot more time into it than I. So, you know, I can see you could take the drone off because you wouldn't need that, and then maybe have a landing area for the Archimedes or Merlin. We talked earlier today about widening the back to fit a Nurser, which I still think is possible, so you could put the links in there as well. It as I said, some heavy modifications, right? But I think it would require far less work than what the Phoenix requires on the Connie. So yeah, I don't know. I've overloaded a whole bit. Like I've just dumped on you. I know, but that's kind of where I'm at, and I just wanted to kind of go.
Yeah. So as I said right at the beginning when you said, you know, we're talking Apollo, I'm not telling you what it's about, and I just went, look, based on the size that. It's possibly grown in size, and it's wider than a Connie, that you're thinking this could be a good framework for a Phoenix. Now, I've always said in its old cut down smaller size, it was a cut down Connie.
Just real quick, to be fair, I did say no comment to try and keep it a surprise, but he's so right through it. Right, okay, keep going.
Yeah. So the fact that I used to, you know, I always just thought it's just a Connie with its, you know, the head, the pilot section and the tail, and it's just, you've got rid of the cargo area. Is effectively what I saw. It's just cut down and chopped in half basically, and the nacelle's gone.
Yeah.
So if it's grown and it's effectively the size of a Connie, then the fact that it's wider than a Connie already does give that doesn't make it beyond the pale. Modular rooms, that could be nice, because it could mean that CIG could go, hey, you want to buy this module for the ship.
So this might help us as well. This is the layout of the actual Apollo. So you can kind of see that you could cut some of those rooms back, like the toilets and washrooms and stuff like that, and they could be turned into a bedroom or other things that are required.
Well,
go ahead. I was just saying the only restriction is really cargo is the problem.
Yeah, well, the nice thing, the problem that I see with this ship is it's currently a single deck, whereas the Connies are basically 2 decks with that cargo area.
But again, that second deck is where the links goes. So that problem is kind of like pushed to the end. And I said, if you kind of open up that ramp area and make it so that the airlock area and cargo is kind of one room, you could essentially fit a nursery in there. It would cannibalize a little bit of reception, but you've also got to remember this picture is from the 43-meter version of the Polo, not the 66-meter version of the Polo. So we're talking like an extra 20 meters at least minimum.
So if you've got a larger cargo area already, if you've got a larger area and ramp area, then a nurser being able to fit, or a nurser being able to fit in that would work.
And you could we don't know the structural area of the ramp, but imagine if you could make it an elevator ramp or some way you just park the Ursa on it before it goes up. That might even be enough. I am not, again, we haven't seen it yet, so again, remember this episode is heavy speculation.
It's a speculation. Now, if it's you're taking a Connie-esque, you're turning into a Connie-esque ship rather than a ramp, I'd make it a standard Connie up and down lift. The reception area becomes your bar, and so if you think of the Connie, the current Connie, that's where the bar, or the Phoenix, that's where the bar would be, and then going back. You got 2 toilets in there, which means you've got 2 staterooms. Automatically, and then you could have, the options to have the seats or the pool table.
Would you make it so that beds are on one side, the pool table and hot tub are on the other, or would you kind of have just beds all round and the reception is the one that becomes a module that swaps out for hot tub or piano?
I'd cheat, because you've got the 2 bathrooms already in the nose in that front section. I'd put a bedroom on each of those. Basically where the make those rooms triangular. Bang, that's your bed.
So which rooms? The toilets are the bedrooms.
Yeah, well, you've got the green toilets up top and the green toilets down the bottom. Each of those are attached to a stateroom, and where the angle goes.
So you're talking
triangular.
You're saying just here would be the bedroom. So see the problem there. The problem there is then it becomes different sized modules to what the Apollo already has. So you're talking about redoing the whole modules. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you could do that.
So this would essentially be an interior rework and an external rework.
This would be probably you're taking the front. It'd be more like a Valkyrie to a Valkyrie rework.
A Valkyrie to
an Asgard Valkyrie rework.
Okay.
The turtles medical versus
Terrapin versus
medical Terrapin. So that type of rework. But you could just do it as different modules. One module for bedrooms, one module for entertainment area. Different modules, so you could have 2 bedrooms on one side.
It does fix a lot of the problems that I know you have with the Phoenix, like the crew entry area is not shared with the like they're 2 completely separate areas.
So so that's a nice area. The fact that I can't see the map, the thing there, but I think there was a crew toilets and bathroom already in there, because I can remember back in the day thinking this ship has got toilets coming out the wazoo. It's got crew toilets.
You had to go.
Plus, it's got.
You had to go into the crew area to use the toilets.
Whereas
this is on the Connie, but
and this has got crew toilets, plus it's got those washrooms for the surgeons. So those washrooms become your stateroom toilets and stuff. The fact that they're actually not part of the modules would mean, if you're doing modules, I think you just have. That's where if you were doing bedrooms, that's where the bedrooms would be, and you could have a module with a bedroom on each one, a module without a bedroom. Pool table / dining piano,
So, is there any negatives that you see? Like, I obviously brought up
no.
the Merlin Archimedes. Is there any that kind of come to mind for you?
Probably the Merlin dock would be the hardest, but then
because I think you'd have to, if I go back to this image that the gentleman had here, I think you'd have to kind of land at that back area there. Like, it's the only place I can kind of think to put it, because I don't think you can go under because of the ramp. So I think the only place that you can kind of go is above. We have yet to see the area where the drone comes in. So unless that's where the ship could go and there's some way to go from the drone area into the ship, I think it has to go on top.
I was thinking just in terms of the old visuals we had where the doors were for the drone are underneath, you could put that as your...
That's what I meant, yeah.
Your link.
But there's no
But then you've got the question of how do I get into that?
Yeah, and if someone's popping out in the middle of the luxury area, that's not that great. So that may not work. So that might be the compromise, is to move the Merlin or Archimedes. Sorry, I keep mixing them up. Archimedes to the top. But again, I do think as a whole, this is sleeker, kind of sexier. Then again, I'm just thinking out off the cuff, like if they do eventually redo the Connie, that all this type of shit may be folded into the new Connie. So, yeah.
If one of the downsides of this is you lose the missile arms. So the Phoenix does have those missile arms. It was originally supposed to have more size 2 missiles than the regular
again, if you're redoing the exterior, you could add a lot more missile banks. There is space to do that. I'm thinking
I'd ditch for the Connie, for the luxury Connie. I'd ditch for missiles, and where the current missile racks are on this, I'd actually give it 2 PDFs.
Yeah.
So I'd actually reduce it.
Two PDCs, but I get what you mean.
Two PDCs, but I'd also wouldn't give it the massive firepower that the Connie has.
So what I'm thinking is you put one on the back, or if the Archimedes is there, you can't put it there. I'd actually
put one on each side where the current missile pods are. You
know. Okay.
So I'd ditch the offensive power of the Phoenix for more defensive power. So
that makes sense.
Like we were talking about for the
flying safe rooms for the I get you. Yeah.
So you take it as an offensive ship rather than an offensive ship. So because the Connie Phoenix is still considered a gunship, I'd kill the gunship idea. I'd make it less.
I think the single reason why this wouldn't go ahead is people will complain that it's not what they paid for. The single reason. There'll be someone out there that just wants it to be the Connie and not be the Apollo, and so therefore they can't make it the Apollo. But I think realistically, you'd be getting a sleeker, sexier, more elegant ship on the inside, rather. But again, if you look at the inside here, once this is kind of, anyway, we have to see the final thing, but I'm pretty sure that most of this ship would be that luxury area, not really at kind of cut into, it was kind of cut up almost like half and half, and too much of it was just the crew area.
Yep. Well,
this is more confined.
The thing I like about that is that reception area almost looks like a bar.
Yeah.
The little reception desk is a bar. You just swivel that to whichever position you want it. You put half a dozen, 2 or 3 of the luxury chairs in there as well. And
again, you could put the bar on one side and the piano or the pool table on the other, and again make it modular. So you just essentially swap out the what is it, the piano or the bar.
I'd love if they were modules and you could actually choose whether I have a dance floor or a hot tub.
Yep.
I always hated the hot tub. I could never work out a value of it. It was just
for the uwu girls, Algared. It's for all your uwu girls. That's what it was for.
I know that's what people say, but it just
you're used to keeping them in the cages, but if you pull them out, they're a lot more fun.
It's just to me just didn't work.
Yeah.
I could kind of scramble around and try and find some reasoning why you'd have a hot tub, which it's kind of the pipes of a ship are going through this tub as part of a cooling process, or but it's kind of stretching at straws to find a reasoning that makes sense. But
if they could reconnect the Archimedes to this, I think it would be kind of cool, because then there'll be another ship that could access that unique docking mechanism, and I do think it's kind of a waste who have bespoke things like that. I'm not a fan. Well, I think CRG are not a fan themselves to have to do things as one-offs, and I think it would be very cool to have that on it. It just makes sense on another RSI ship to kind of reutilize that. And having it on two, so one for the Merlin, one for the Archimedes, kind of makes sense to me as well.
Now, if I was doing a kind of reworks for this ship to kind of fit it into a more Connie-esque line,
yes,
another variant I would do is I'd have a module that actually was a Merlin hangar, so you could actually have two Merlins on the ship.
That's another way to go about it. What if it is a module and you have to pick and choose? So for example, you can have the Ursa, or the Lynx, or you can have the Archimedes, but you can't have both. Now, I like that as player choice, but again, there'll be someone out there that would complain, hey, I meant to be able to have both at the same time.
Well, you could have both if you had one module doing Archimedes and one module doing...
Well, the problem with so with your idea, this is the little issue I have, right? Is because at the place of where the modules are placed, there's nothing centered. So it would throw things, because you remember when the ship's added, it adds its physics to the ship, so you can't have it. The only place it would work was it literally replaces like the reception or the airlock or the those centered locations. So you'd have to find somewhere centered to do it.
Well, I suppose I was originally thinking you've got two modules, and so each module you actually replace both modules with an Archimedes module, so you've got two.
So it'd have to be something along the lines of, like, I'm just thinking out loud, right? So feel free to shoot me down here. If we went into the idea of, like you were saying about, like, it has different modular layout, right? But then because it's centrally located, maybe you lose the bar, the pool table, the piano, and it essentially creates an entry point from that bottom area to upstairs.
Yeah, could, yeah. Could
work. And maybe it's still got like a mini bar, but not a full bar or something like that, and so it has like a little side locker off to, like, that little cargo area. Maybe it turns that into like a pilot storage area or something for, little parts for the Archimedes, your little jacket and, your little things that you want to take out with the Archimedes and stuff like that. Because the other way I would go to on this, and this is something that I'll bring up to you, I've often thought, while the Archimedes is great for combat, it's not really great for touring, right? So I've actually often thought, wouldn't it be better, and they'll never do this, right? They will never do it because it just doesn't work, because it's Origin versus RSI, but it would have been far better if it was like an 85X, because that ship beats the touring thing. But I just don't see Origin and RSI going, like, helping each other.
What about a Kruger variant that had pilot and passenger front and back?
That could work as well.
So, but yeah, I get the idea that the Archimedes doesn't really fit as a touring ship.
I need another name, like Galileo or something like that. Like it's the Explorer variant, and it's a two-seater, and it gives up its guns. It literally is just a touring snub. Yeah. I could see something, and I'm making it up as I go along here, but yeah, you get my point, right?
Yeah. But even if you gave it a couple of guns, everything's got to have a gun or two, just, unless it's an Argo.
Yeah. Well, again, it could look kind of cool having that gun down the middle if you had two canopies, and you know how you don't sit and you, like, if me and you were sitting it, we can't see each other's faces, but it's literally two domes, so I'm literally looking through glass to see you. I think that would be kind of cool, but they're really close. But then the gun's like in the middle between us would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking inline, like the old trainers, so you'd have a pilot.
Yeah.
And kind of your nav operator or your Rio at the back.
A little bit like the Cloud City ships, but a lot closer together. The red ones that.
Yeah. So Ivory would be a nice thing if they could do it. I think the pilot and co-pilot behind, or pilot and passenger behind, in line with each other, it would be easy to make, just because it's more symmetry as opposed to
the number of changes we're talking about here. I'm starting to think like I did before, where maybe separating the Phoenix off from the, like, start at the Apollo and break, and take things from the Connie and that, and essentially kit bash them together and make your own ship. I think the Phoenix is going to need that treatment, unfortunately. Just, you know, and again, I think the money they're asking for it, you know, it's $135 over a Connie. I think it probably deserves a lot more love than it has, and I think they might be happy where it is, but again, I think it's definitely in rework. I think the whole Connie line is in the same boat because of its age, like those starting 5 ships that we always talk about.
Yep.
I think it's in the same vein as that.
Well, one of the problems that I still have with the Phoenix is, we've finally got the PDF, the PDC PDF. We finally got the PDC. Now, for ages, that was mythical, and the question was, where are they going to put it? Now, if the engine's still closed like they used to, there was no way it could go in its current position. You could put it literally on the tail, on the butt.
Realistically, I don't see them giving you a second one because they were really opposed to giving the first one.
Yep. But if you're reducing, like, that's because the current Connie has 4 size 5 guns plus 2.
Yeah, if you lose all those missiles,
you're reducing guns, then you're making it, and you're losing your missiles, and you're turning it into defensive.
Yep.
Having two PDCs, you know, one on each side, then is a fair balance.
Yeah, and there is a weakness to that too, because if you EMP them, the PDCs kind of go down and stuff like that, and if they get taken out, that you kind of can't bring them back. There are negatives to it there, so I can see where you're going, and it also means you've generally got to attack it with a ship of its similar caliber. So, say a Connie came along to take this out, it would make sense.
And I'd probably, you know, you could still give it two size 4s on those nacelles, because it's only got 2 nacelles, so you've cut down the big weapons by 50% already. You reduced the turret down, so you've cut down the firepower by 50%, bare minimum.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give those guns on it. I'd just leave it as it is, and I'd give it the PDCs as defense. So I'd kill the missiles,
really tie into that whole get the hell out of here aspect.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah,
you've got enough firepower that if you need to, but you really want to just get out of Dodge. That's what I'd do, you know. But I know there'll be people, but as you said, there will be people who say, "Oh no, my Connie's lost this and this and this." But it would give you the ability to give it better weapons than the Connie's had. It was always said to have better weapons, more size 2 missiles, bigger engines, more power plants. It doesn't have the extra power plant still. Its weapons aren't any better. Its missiles have been nerfed. It doesn't have any, you know, size 2s. I don't think it has any size 2s anymore. So
it's just made a lot of consolidations, and it also is just not working where it is. Again, this is a shoehorn situation. You know, and again, I think what's made it worse was it had a lot of things talked about and promised, whichever way you want to look at it, right? Over the years, because it took so long to come out, and it's just gone long in the tooth because of that. And I think because of that, if you want to keep those promises, it just doesn't fit in that ship anymore. And what do I call it? I call it the Buccaneer treatment. So back in the day, they had a lot of people bought the Cutlass that was sold as a fighter, and it didn't work, so they bought the Buccaneer out at the same price and allowed people a $0 CCU to switch over and pick which one they wanted. And I think that's kind of what needs to happen to this, is they go, you can keep the old Phoenix and we're going to make it like I know it's technically like a Mark 5 or whatever, but it's the Mark 1, and now they've decided to follow more Apollo, even if they run it off into a new ship, and make like a Mark 2. And so those that are, you can stay here, that's it, or this is what the new and improved.
We'll give you a free upgrade to it from your ship. But down the track, you'll be paying more for it.
And that way, they brought the old one. They can't complain. If they stay with it, it's obviously going to be way worse than the new one. But the new one, you know, looks leaner, sexier, and more luxurious.
So if I did the change that I was saying, then the players have that choice. Do I keep with the extra firepower, the 4 size 5 guns and the 2 turrets, or do I go for less firepower but more defensive firepower? So I think there's a balance there for that, but whether CIG will ever do that is speculation and wishful thinking. But look, as you said, it's already got skylight.
Yep.
It's halfway there. Medical is
don't take much. Algared just likes glass, and he's there.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
It's got to see the sun.
Yeah. So I will kind of put this off to people in the comments then, Algared. Like, is this something that you would entertain? Do you own a Phoenix? Would you like to see it more Apollo S, or are you more towards the whole new ship thing, or you're totally happy where it is? Algared, what would you like to hear from people in the comments below?
Yeah, basically the same thing. Do you like the idea of if the Apollo grows to Connie size, if it has grown to Connie size, then would you see that as a good compromise? Would you go the same line I'm going, or would you want to keep it more with the same firepower it's currently got?
I think we'll add to that. Or do you have another fix that we haven't thought of? Would be the other one. So yeah.
How would you solve the Archimedes / links problem?
Again, feel free to weigh in. If you don't own this ship, that's totally fine. But remember constructive criticism, and it might not be a ship for you, but a good person, so to speak, I should say a good person, but a good critic can see the good in other ships, right? And their need for existence. Like, this is not a ship for me, right? Yeah. But I can see why people like it, and I want all ships to be good. So yeah,
it's like the Cutlass. The Cutlass, when they made it fly like a wallowing sow because it was a merchant ship, not a fighter. They created the Buccaneer to give it that fighterist characteristic.
But then they also grew the Cutlass quite considerably afterwards.
And then they redid the Cutlass and made the Cutlass freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
So there is groundwork for them to do this again. I just don't know what it's like now. That like it's grown a lot since then. And what I mean is the community. So I'd be interested to know. I think that's the only way they're going to be able to do it is essentially have, here's your old one and you can keep it, or you can get this new sexy one. Or do they just leave it to wallow, which fortunately that's kind of where it is right now. And I hope it doesn't stay that way.
I hope they don't leave it to wallow. I hope they do, that would give them the opportunity. One of the things of doing that, it would give them a chance to do, add most of the things that they said it could do in the past. The only thing I think you'd give up is those extra size 2 missiles. Or more size 2 missiles than a Connie. But if you give it 2 PDCs, that's I think a fair trade-off.
I think the most realistic outcome to this whole thing, and I'll just kind of say that now, is I think that when they come back to do the Connie, it will be, how they kind of had the neck, the body, and the tail. I think that'll be a bit more modular, so to speak, and I think that they will somehow incorporate a bit of modularity like that's in this into that, and that space will just be different. It'll probably have a different neck, a different body, and a different tail, but it'll look the same more on the outside. And I think that it's going to be completely, like almost a 1.5 version. It's the only way they're going to be able to pull it off to get the things in it that it needs to do, because again, shoehorning, we've seen it in other ships. You know what one I'm thinking of, I don't need to say out loud. But it just doesn't work, and it creates problems. So
yeah. Well, I always look back to the Phoenix, and one of the very earliest promise was it had, I think it was size 9 engines or some obscene size engine.
Yep.
And they pulled it back, and I can remember Ben saying, if we gave it those engines are bigger than Idris engines or something like that. They would have dwarfed the ship, and it just didn't work. So,
and again, some of those holdovers like PDCs would have been cut and stuff like that too. And they in hindsight, again, you do need to make consolidations for those. That's probably why it lost a lot of the missiles and stuff, because it would have just made it far too strong. It would have been offensive and defensive. You've got to pick. You can't have both. So
and that's why I'm, like I said, I'd give it. Where those 2 missile pods are on the ship, I'd make those PDCs, but I'd be stripping. I'd be cutting the current firepower by 50% at least.
And I can see that, because that actually, I think VIP ships should lean into more defensive than offensive. And as long as it can get itself out of there, that's the main thing. You don't want it killing other people. It should be like that what do you call it? The limo, you know, or the president motorcade. It's like, shit, we're under attack. Let's just get the hell out of here. I think that's the mentality.
You know, it was always supposed to be. It was often referred to as, you know, the James Bond limo. It's the bulletproof, armored. You know, more armored than an Andromeda.
Can take a hit, but can't give it.
Yeah, and that's what I'd like to see it be. More that tanky style, but not punching.
All right, then. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to everyone who went the extra mile on Patreon at the end of the video. With that, then, he's been Old Man Hurston Algared.
And he's been Execute. We're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.